Dr. E always does what he says he's going to do. And what he said he was going to do is come back for Chapter 9 homework 2, Lord willing. And here I am back. What does the internal rate of return do and measure? So the internal rate of return is the discount rate that equates the present value of the cash inflows and the cash outflows associated with the project. So cash inflows minus cash outflows equals 0. It is the discount rate, the IY, NPV I equals, that will result in a net present value of 0. It measures the percentage return earned on the cost of an investment or of a project, the cost. So it doesn't give us a dollar amount, it gives us a percentage amount. What is the decision rule regarding the internal rate of return? Go with the project that has the higher internal rate of return. The decision rule for net present value is go with the project that creates the highest amount of dollar value. Okay, what are the advantages and disadvantages of the internal rate of return? The internal rate of return can be computed without having a required rate of return. You do not have to compute a required rate of return. It shows the percentage return on an investment, which investors like to see. So you can compare investments that have different dollar amounts associated with them. Someone says, how did you do with your investment? And they say, well, I made $10,000. Well, that's nice, but we need to know that's only half of it. We know how much came in or what their profit was, but we don't know how much they invested. And we don't know the risk associated with it either. So we need to know those things to really assess whether an investment was a good investment. How much profit did you make? Over what period of time? How risky was it? And how much did you invest to begin with? So the internal rate of return, let's see, the disadvantages are the internal rate of return. So to compute an internal rate of return, you don't have to have the required rate of return. All you need are project cash flows. The disadvantages are the internal rate of return does not generate how much dollar value a project creates. This makes the internal rate of return useless in choosing between mutually exclusive projects, meaning if you have a certain amount of money to invest, you have two projects you're looking at, you can only do one. Which one should you do? And the answer is you should do the one not that has the highest internal rate of return, but the one that creates the most net present value dollars. The internal rate of return can be corrupted by non-conventional cash flows, and we'll get into that in the next homework 3, I think. All right. So let's do some calculations. Compute the internal rate of return for both projects. So what we're going to have to do is clear our calculators. Okay. So go to cash flow and down arrow 3 times. And make sure that you've got zeros in all of those registers, and you should be back at CF0 equals 0. And let's go ahead, and I've written the cash flows down already. So here is CF0 for project A, 30,000. Enter down, plus minus. Enter down arrow, CO1, 16,000. Enter down arrow. CO2 is 13,000. Enter down arrow. CO3, 8,000, enter, down arrow, and CO4 is 5,000, enter, down arrow, I, R, compute, and you get 18.72%. Okay? Now let's look at the internal rate of return for project B. Clear your calculator out. Second, future value, second CEC again. Make sure that you click cash flow keys, scroll down 3 times up. You still have numbers in there. Then second, future value, second CEC, and CEC again. Now you're cleared out. Hit the cash flow keys, scroll down 3 times, make sure you get zeros, and you're back at CF0. All right, CF0 so is plus minus 30,000. Enter, down arrow. CO1, 6,000. Enter, down arrow, down arrow. CO2, 11,000. Enter, down arrow, down arrow. CO3, 12,000. Enter, down arrow, down arrow. CO4, 19,000. Enter, down arrow, down arrow. IRR compute equals 18.13%. So, according to the internal rate of return calculations, you choose Project A. It has a higher rate of return than Project B. But think about it this way. Project A tells you the rate of return on your investment, okay? But it does not tell you the present value of the inflows minus the outflows. It tells you if you're using your money efficiently, but it doesn't tell you how much money you are making. All right, let's change the cash flows and do it again, one more time. So we've got minus 45,000, then we have 18,000, 17,000, 16,000, and 15,000. And we've got 65,000 and 26,000, 24,000, 22,000, and 22,000. All right. So, CF0 equals 0. I'm sorry, CF0 equals 45,000 plus minus, enter down arrow, down arrow. CO1 is 18,000, enter down arrow, down arrow. CO2 is 17,000, enter down arrow, down arrow. CO3 is 16,000, enter down arrow, down arrow. And 15,000, CO4 is 15,000, enter down arrow, down arrow. IRR compute, and you should get 17.93%. Okay? Now, clear your calculator out. CF0 equals 65,000 plus minus, enter down arrow. CO1 is 26,000, enter down arrow, down arrow. CO2 is 24,000, enter down arrow, down arrow. CO3 is 22,000, enter down arrow, down arrow. CO4 is 22,000, enter down arrow, down arrow. IRR compute, and you get 17.19%. Now, let me just say, so once again, Project A has a higher internal rate of return. So according to internal rate of return, you choose Project A. You could put, when you hit CO3, since you have 2 years of 22,000, when you hit CO3 equals 22,000, enter down arrow FO3, you could put 2. And then you would go right into IRR compute. All right. Is that all? Homework 2? No, there's one more. Wait, there's more. Okay. So let's change the cash flows and do one more of these. Man, it's starting to wear me down, wear me down. Change these cash flows. All right, while I'm doing this, clear your calculator out. So minus 150,000, whoops. And then 80,000. No. Start over. 80,000. 80,000. 30,000. And 80,000. Okay? Then we have minus 240,000. And 60,000. And 70,000. And 90,000. And 250,000. All right. Calculators are cleared. Let's get after it. CF0 equals 150,000 plus minus. Enter, down arrow. CO1 is 80,000. Enter, down arrow. FO1 is 2. 80,000, 80,000. You cannot put 3 because this is in year 4, so FO1 is 2. Enter, down arrow. CO3 is 30,000. Enter, down arrow, and CO4 is $80,000. Enter, down arrow, IRR, compute, and you get 30.23%. 30.23%. Once again, yes, there are 3 cash flows of 80,000, but if you say that FO1 is 3, then the calculator will put it in as 80,000, 80,000, 80,000, 30,000. And that's not true. The 80,000 here happens in year 4. Okay? So you've got to get your numbers in the proper order. All right, clear your calculators out. Make sure that CF is all cleared out. CF0 minus 240,000. CO1 60,000. CO2 70,000. CO3 90,000. CO4 250,000. IRR compute, and you get 25.23%. Boy, Project B just hadn't done well in any of our examples. I have to change that up. Not discriminate against Project B. Okay, so we are done with homework 2. Think about it, pray about it, and we'll come back and we'll do homework 3. Peace out, baby. Shalom.